Hi everyone, it's Lynn Dion from Pink Whisper Designs. Today we're going to be creating this pretty as a picture card, which will have this really fun Polaroid look to it, like a Polaroid photo. So I thought this would be a great design to show you because you could use this on your tags or your scrapbook pages or even in your altered books. So let's go ahead and take a look at the image we're going to be using. I've got the Sailboat window stamp set, and that includes the die that will cut and pop up that little tree. So this is designed to fit into your shadow box windows. We're not going to be using it that way today. We're just going to be using that main image. I'll go ahead and stamp that using some Versafine Onyx black ink. And I've got some Strathmore Bristol smooth cardstock that I've placed into my MISTI stamp positioner. I'm just pressing that out with my STAMPendable stamp press, and now we can go ahead and do some coloring. So let's start off with the May green and the green, and I'm using the Zig Clean Color Real Brush pens, which are a water-based pen, and to do our blending we'll be using that Zig blender pen. So I'm starting off with the lighter color, and then I'm going to add a little bit of that darker color. I'm not going to do any blending right away. I'm just going to add the two colors at the same time, and then I'll start to blend. But you could certainly start with your lighter color and do your blending and then come in with that darker color. So either way will work just fine. Just want to take your time blending that out. I'm going to keep it the lightest up towards the top. Now I'll use those same two colors on some of the grass down here at the bottom. Again, just adding those two colors right up front, and then I'm just going to pull those together. So again, this stamp set is part of the Shadow Box Window series of stamps, and they are designed to fit behind that little window. And with this set, you get that little pop-up tree. So what you do is place that in front of your scene, and it gives it a really three-dimensional look. And when you look into your card, you'll see that scene. So it's really fun to do. I've done plenty of the shadow box window cards, and you could certainly go to my blog and just type that in, and you will see quite a few of them pop up. And I wanted to show you another way that you could use these. So I thought it would be fun today to create this little scene and then turn it into a photo. As I said in the beginning of the video, this design would be perfect for your tags, for your scrapbook pages. It would be really fun to do a few different ones on your scrapbook pages. So if this beach one doesn't suit your taste, there are several others available at Art Impressions. There's a sledding window, a snowy window, a blooming window, which is a beautiful floral. I did do a card with that you might want to check out. And there's also the deer. So there's some masculine ones. There's one with a deer on it, a mailbox window, a boat. The boat one is really fun as well. So, and there's a Halloween one. So there's quite a few. And there is a special die to create that shadow box. It's a die set that is also available. So I will list and link all the products we're using today down below and also on my blog. So if you're interested in anything, you can check it out there. And again, if you want to go over to my blog and just type in the word shadow box in the search bar, you'll see a lot of the ones come up that I've already created. I did one as a edge-to-edge shaker card. I've done some as the window cards. I've just kind of played around with them to show you different things that you can do with these designs. So it doesn't always have to be used in the way that it was created. Here I'm just going to finish up that little grassy area in the front using those same two greens. I'm trying to mix up the greens a little bit just for a little bit of variety. And then for the sails on the boat, I thought I would bring in a little bit of the pink, so I'm using that peach pink. And by the way, all the colors I'm using today are listed up in the upper left-hand corner as we're going along. Now when you're using that blender pen, you want to just scribble it onto some scrap paper until it goes clear, and then you can switch to your next color. For this little mountainous area, I wanted the green-gray. I wanted to keep a little bit of green, but I also didn't want it to compete with the bright greens that I'm using in the front there. So I'm just going to blend that out, and I'll continue that across the card. Now you can also use that blender pen to remove ink, so if you get too much ink, you just grab some of that with the blender pen and scribble it onto your scrap paper, and you can remove as much or as little ink as you like. Now I'll grab that May green and just fill in that little grassy area on the other side there. And I really love coloring in these little scenes. I just find it fun and relaxing. It's like just coloring in a little painting. When I'm done, I just feel like I just have this little work of art. So here I'm going to add a little bit of a shadow around the sky and above those clouds. And then I'm just adding some darker green to the stems on those flowers. And then for the trunk on the tree, I've got the beige and the mid brown. Just kind of use those two colors to add a little bit of shadowing here at the base of the tree. We're going to be cutting away that sentiment, but that sentiment is really pretty. If you wanted to keep it there, it says, "Wishing you warm breezes and beautiful beaches. May all of your dreams come true." Oh, that's so pretty. So, but you can see here, I am going to cut it away just for today's card. And I'm using my Tim Holtz titanium scissors. They're 9.5 inches long, and it really makes it easy to do a nice, straight, even cut without getting that choppy edge. So now I've got a piece of Strathmore Bristol Smooth cardstock, and I've cut this down to 2.5 by 3 inches. I've got my Nuvo Deluxe adhesive, and I'll go ahead and glue these two together. And here you can see how easy it is to create that little Polaroid. Just simply gluing those two together. And now I want to add a sentiment at the bottom there. So I'm going to go to the Gull-friends set, which is really a fun set of these seagulls. And it's got that cute sentiment that says, "Seize the day." And it's got a couple little seashells on here that we're going to be also using. I've placed the picture in my MISTI stamp positioner, and again I'm going back to that Versafine Onyx black ink, just trying to make sure it's nice and straight, and I'll go ahead and stamp that. Now if you were doing a scrapbook page, it might be fun to write a little sentiment right there or a little caption underneath that picture. And then I had my sticky mat in my MISTI stamp positioner. So an easy way to remove your stamped item is just to pull back on that sticky mat a little bit, and your item will pop right out. Next, let's grab some pretty cardstock. This is the scrapbook.com Warms cardstock paper pack. And you get all these beautiful yellows, oranges, these really pretty kind of corally colors and light pinks. We're going to grab this one to start off with. And we're going to start stamping the seashells on our background. I've got my watercolor box. This is the travel box from Art Impressions, and it comes with 3 little acrylic blocks. It also comes with a watercolor palette. So I'm going to grab 2 of those seashells, and I'm using my Staz-on Snowflake white ink pad. And this is going to be a nice bright white, and I'm going to randomly stamp all these little shells around the background. And this ink is a permanent ink, so it won't bleed or smear. Just let it set to dry. You can also heat set it quickly if you wanted to. And then let's switch out and grab that little starfish and fill in the open areas. I like to make it look like it's going right off the edge of the card panel, so I tend to just add some little stamped areas to the edges. and make it look like it continues on. We are going to be cutting this down just a little bit as well, but let's start off here. I've got my bleed-proof white ink, and really just a tiny bit of this goes a long way. I really love this ink for doing some white spattering. It stays a nice bright white. I'm adding a little tiny bit of water to it, and then I'm going to use a small paintbrush and just spatter this entire panel. Now I want to add a little sparkle here as well, so I'm going to let that sit for a couple minutes, and then I've got my Wink of Stella glitter pen. And if you just squeeze a little bit of that glitter onto your glass media mat, spritz that with a little bit of water, this spatters beautifully. You're going to love how this looks. So again, I'm just picking it up with that small paintbrush and spattering the entire panel. And this just brought this panel to life. It's just so pretty. I'll show you that here. We'll take another closer look at that at the end. Here's where I decided to cut this down. So it was 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. I'm cutting it down to 4 inches by 5 1/4 because I did decide I would back this with another color that's a little bit lighter than this one. I'm going back to that same paper pad, and I'm going to grab that lighter color. But first, I want to place this panel onto some Strathmore Bristol Smooth cardstock. So I've cut a panel the exact same size. Again, that's the 4 by 5 1/4. And that will just give a little bulk to the front panel of our card because we're going to be adding some ribbon. So I've got the velvet trims in the Warm collection from Tim Holtz. And look at these beautiful colors you get. I'm going to use that lighter pinky tone. And what I'm going to do is add a little bit of my very strong double-sided tape to the back, just a couple little chunks of it. This is the 1/2 inch tape. It's super sticky and it will hold this velvet trim in place nicely. Let's go ahead and remove the backing. I've got my Cricut weeder tool. I'm just going to press down on that backing and then use that pointy tip just to remove that. And I'm finding that's working really well for me. Now I'm going to grab that velvet trim and wrap it all the way around from front to back. And I'll show you a little tip here for making it look like you tied the perfect little bow or the perfect little knot. So once that's in place, I'm going to grab my 3D foam tape, again a super sticky dimensional tape, and I'm going to add that all around the back. I'm just going to avoid where that velvet trim is because that already has dimension to it. And I'll put plenty of this on the back so that this panel lays nice and flat on the front of our card. So once I have that done, let's go ahead and remove the backing. And now we can attach that to that panel. So again, that is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. And I'm going to go ahead and leave that little tiny bit of a border all the way around. So I'm just centering it on that panel. Now let's grab another piece of that velvet trim, and I'll show you here how fun this is. You just tie a little knot and center it and then pull both ends, and it looks like you tied the perfect little knot for the front of your card. I'll just on an angle trim away some of that excess. And now let's go ahead and pop up our little photo. We'll remove the backing. And then I'm going to place this on a little bit of an angle. For the card base, we're using, again, the Strathmore Bristol Smooth cardstock. This measures 4 1/4 by 11 inches, and I'm scoring it at 5 1/2 inches. Just going to press out that crease with the bone folder, And then we can go ahead and add this panel. Here I am going to use my glue so that I can slide this right into place. It will be the exact same size as the front of our card. So there I can just slide that around until I get it positioned perfectly. Now let's add a few sequins to the front of our card. I've got this beautiful sequin mix from Picket Studios, and you can see how gorgeous these are. So we're going to add these to the front of the card, and a few of those are iridescent, so it's really going to look pretty with that sparkly background that we spattered onto the panel. So I'm just going to use my pickup tool and add a few of these in each of the corners. And then I'm back to the Wink of Stella glitter pen, and I'm adding a little bit of glitter to the centers of those flowers. Now let's take a closer look at the finished card. And you can see that beautiful background. I hope you can see that really pretty spattering that we did on the background. And again, just switch out your scene. You could do several of these cards using several of the shadow box scenes that are available. And that would be a really fun set of note cards to give someone as a gift. So I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, please hit the like button and subscribe. And don't forget to hit that notification bell so that you don't miss a single video. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed today's video, and I also hope you have a great day. Take care. Bye-bye.